Okay, on another edition of Haycraft Ministries, after we had caught everyone up to speed and up to current time with what's going on with my husband, Michael. And one of the things that we would like to discuss that applies not only to our family, but for any family that's going in through incarceration or just life in general, and that is about forgiveness. And that's what heals us. And Michael, you said that there's a program called God Behind Bars that deals with a lot of these issues.
Yes. Well, I mean, they talk about, that we have to keep from feeling down and out and beating ourselves up for things that people have done against us. We need to forgive them just like the things that we did toward others, because we ask for forgiveness.
Well, and that's one thing about it, as far as, Christ told us that we have all sinned and fallen short. And if we have had to ask God for forgiveness, everybody has, and if they think that they have never needed forgiveness, then they're deceived. And if we ask God for forgiveness, how is it that we could hold a grudge against somebody else?
Right. Well, if that was the case, then God had all the reasons to hold a grudge against us as a nation.
Oh, yeah.
Because you gotta realize there's racism, there's adultery, there's numerous sins that people do every day. As far and about these racial issues, I don't understand how somebody could hate another person that God or something that God's created. It's like the black people were slaves back in the day. Was it nothing about that right? Not one thing about it was right. They shouldn't have been treated that way.
No, they shouldn't.
And racism is going to continue to go on until both sides forgive the other.
Yeah. And that is one of the things, one of my personal role models, I've had several. One of them is Gandhi. And, he wasn't even Christian, but he had a lot of wisdom. Another one is Mother Teresa. I'm not Catholic, but I can appreciate what the woman did. And then Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I was growing up, I was born in 1965, and his teachings were still very much something that people were beginning to follow. And he preached about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it's...
If people would look at, if white people would look at, the black people's side and listen to people like Martin Luther King, and if the black people would, listen to Billy Graham, and learn from these two individuals, because both of them was God touched, and a lot of people just, I don't know, I think they feel weaker or less than if they was to forgive somebody. So they take it upon themselves to continue having hatred toward the things that they hate.
And to teach their children to hate.
Yep. Oh, yeah, it happens every day.
And that amazes me. And is there a lot of racism in prisons?
Oh, yeah, everywhere.
And what type of racism exists in the prison system?
Well, it's like a lot of the black people or black gang members can't stand white people. But then you got some of them that love white people. And you got some white people that hate black people, but you got some white people that love black people. I mean, you got you both kinds. And I feel sorry for the ones that feel racism.
Right. That hatred.
Either us against them or them against us. It isn't right.
No.
Because what is people going to get out of that?
More hate,
not
more
one
bloodshed.
thing comes from having hatred toward another person.
That you don't even know.
They're making themselves miserable
Right.
because they can't forgive the things that happened to them before, and we feel it's our duty to like hold their actions against them. You know, yes, they had a right to, be angry of what happened to their ancestors and all the above, but it's not right to continue going on with hatred and racism because that happened so many years ago.
Right.
This is 2019.
Right.
I mean, we shouldn't still be living in those childish ways.
Exactly. Well, it's something, I'm part Native American, and it's like, I had ancestors that were annihilated.
Right.
I can't, when you're living in the past, let me say, what are you doing with today?
Well, that's like the Mexican that murdered my Aunt Merlin. There for a long time, I hated any Mexican. But I realized, not all of them was that same person that killed my aunt.
No.
But, I still had to find it within myself to even forgive the individual who did kill my aunt.
Yeah.
So, because if I didn't forgive him, then he still got control of me. That situation still has control over me. So once I was able to forgive that man for it, because I know he's going to have to answer for what he did when he goes to see God.
Absolutely.
It's not for me to judge this man. It's not for me to hate, each person that's a Mexican, because that would be selfish and wrong on me.
Right. Because that's blaming people that had nothing to do with it.
Right.
And it's just like
this guy. I ain't gonna tell him what was wrong with this guy.
Right.
I mean, he was already serving time for beating his brother's head in with a baseball bat, and they parole him out. Then he kills my aunt while he's on parole. I can't. There had to be something mentally wrong with this man. It had to be.
Well, there's definitely something spiritually
kill
wrong.
His brother like he did.
Yeah.
So, I forgive him because God told me that the only way we're going to be forgiven is to forgive.
Right. Well, and it's something that when you triggered in 2013, and that there were people who still live very close to us that played a large part in the misery that our family has gone through since that time. And that I have to pass, that dwelling. Anytime I go out of the house, I have to pass it once getting out of the holler, and I have to pass it again and coming back up in the holler. And for a long time, it was one of those that I would sit there with gritted teeth and say, God, I forgive them. God, please help them. Because, we're told to bless those who curse us.
Well,
and so it's one of those things that it was not an overnight thing.
Right.
And to see their people out on the porch, and that they ain't missed a beat, and that holidays and birthdays and anything, just every days that they still with their people.
It's a simple solution to handle, because we forgive them, and we should thank them, because they helped me lead me to where I'm at now. In a way, they kind of saved my life, because if I wouldn't have come to prison this time, I'd have probably already been dead. And that forgiveness comes from God. It's not from me. It's not from you. It's from what He told us to do, and I respect what He wants us to do. So I have to respect these people, because I've learned so much. If it took all this to figure out who I truly was and what God wanted me to do with my life, then, me and you and God won. Because now I know that there was an issue. I know that there was a problem. We didn't know what, but now we do. So now I'm better equipped to where I can go out and I can forgive these people as bad as I don't want to. But I know that's what God wants me to do, so I have to do it. I'm not going to live with resentment, even though I dislike what they put us through. But I will be praying for them because they're going to have to stand in front of God and give an answer of what they done to us.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, you know, I want to hate them so bad. I really do, but I know I can't because if I hold that hatred and that resentment against them, I'm not going to heal completely.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So if I know if I forgive them for all that they done to us, then, you know, I can start that healing process. And that's what has gotten me this far so far. I know who I am now. I know what I got to do when I come home. I know who I'm going to be when I come home.
Well, and that was something that when you were first incarcerated, because there were a lot of things that you didn't remember, but I did. And, you know, God will thump me when I've got wrong thinking or my spirit's not right or whatever. And he does that out of love to sit there and go, hey, you need to think about this.
He does that to the people that trust in him and have faith in him and know that he is who he says he is.
Well, and it's just like I'm still very much aware of that day that I was sitting out when I had relocated temporarily to Tennessee to be near you, and was sitting out on the porch there at the lady I was staying with, her residence, and, you know, just dealing with it and praying over it because everybody was telling me, forgive, you got to do it now, you got to do it now. No, it comes in its own time.
You don't have to forgive right off the bat. It comes in a slow process.
But, you know, to come to that realization that I loved God and I loved you more than I hated what those people had done to us.
Right.
And so to go by, at least I have peace now when I go by there. And a lot of times the prayer is, God, you do what you need to do to bring these people to you because it's not your will that any perish.
Right. Well, you look at it like this. You know, maybe God allowed all this to happen just so that we would be brought back to him.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. In 2013, when all this blew up, he brought you to your knees and he brought me to my knees.
Oh, yeah, he dropped me on the third or fourth step coming up the basement steps.
Oh, yeah.
Dropped me to my knees.
No. He will. That's the way he works. He's going to get your attention. But you got to look at it. Where we found him, you know, now it's up to him to plant that seed in them, and they might not ever get that.
Right.
Because they're too caught up in worldly things. They're too caught up in all the negative things that the world offers. And with us, he's got us now. We're going to be, you know, living for the most positive things in life now. Not hurting other people, not destroying other lives, not hurting other people or using other people. We don't do that. That's what God has made us understand. You just don't do this. That's why he brought us both to our knees. And these people across town and down the road, you know, it's a chance that they might not ever get to know God.
And how sad
and they
is
might
that?
not even make it into the kingdom because, you know, people have to realize that they have to change. If they don't change, God's not going to change his mind about them if they're not going to willing to be changed.
Right. I mean,
yeah, forgiveness is a hard thing to grasp.
Well, you know, the thing is about God, he's not a bully. He's not a dictator.
Nope.
Nobody is in his kingdom that doesn't want to be there.
That's right.
You know? And I'm going
to free choice.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and clarify, and, you know, because we've heard a lot of your testimony. I have been hesitant to tell my testimony years ago because my story scares people more than yours does. And the fact that God delivered me out of the occult.
Yeah.
And that you knew that. You knew my background. And even when you came home, I was verging again on the New Age. Not that I was doing anything, I wasn't as deep into it as I had been years previously, But I was, questioning, do all roads lead to heaven? Is Christ the only way? And I can tell anybody at this point right now, absolutely, he's the only way.
Oh, yeah. He's the only way. There's no question about it.
Nobody else died for us. Buddha didn't die for us. None of these other ones died for us.
Well, a lot of people get so caught up in the worldly things and the pleasures of the world, and God said, that this is only our temporary home, and life doesn't end when we die.
No, it doesn't.
We die from the world. We die of the world, but He brings us into His kingdom, and we have eternity. A lot of people don't understand that, they think that they can just go to church on Sunday and then do their normal routine through the week, which is whether it be drinking or cussing or any of that. He's going to hold them accountable for that because He's going to look at them as hypocrites.
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping he has some mercy on me about the cussing, baby, because I am still...
Well, I mean...
It's out of frustration.
That's not going to send us into hell.
Well, the thing is, to truly curse somebody is to look at them and tell them that they're worthless or they're less than. And that's a true curse. And you and I both have had people speak those curses over us.
Oh, yeah.
But we also try our best to speak the word of God, His promises over us, His blessings over us, which outride, they override the curses.
You're absolutely right.
But it is also it is through forgiveness, and to go back to the original topic, if we're holding resentment against somebody else, if we've got that bitterness in our heart, that's going to separate us from God.
Oh yeah, it's going to separate us from the quest He's put us on.
Yeah.
People, there's a fork in the road, and one leads to negative things and one leads to positive things, and it's up to us to choose which one we choose.
Right.
Because He gave us that free choice, and it's up to us what we do with it.
Absolutely.
People can throw it down the drain and take that left-hand turn and go down a lifetime of misery and just be, or they can go to the right and learn from past mistakes and try to go help other people, try to bring them, plant that seed so that it'll sprout. That's what God wants us to do. He wants us to live up there with Him, but He's not going to make us. We have to earn that. It's almost like we have to earn the things we earn in life, everyday life.
Well,
Same way, we got to earn that trip up there because we're not going to do it just by continuing negative things.
Right. Well, and it's not a matter of earning it as much as it is showing gratitude for what He's already given us, and to live for Him because we want to, and that we do what we do out of love for Him, and knowing that He loves people. Every person that we see is made in the image of God, whether they know it or not. And to love them and honor them as a creation of God. And it's easy to do that with people that are lovable. It's not so easy to do with people that are in a position they're not lovable.
That's true.
But those are the ones that we need to separate between the pain.
Right.
Because pain is almost like a demonic spirit that it can overtake somebody. And, yeah, and to see that the anger, even though it seems to be aimed at us, that it is coming from that person, their woundedness. And there's a whole lot of people that have been wounded by others who called themselves Christian.
Yep, absolutely right.
And I tell you something, there's a whole lot of people that claim to be in the body of Christ, but Paul said that if you don't have love in you, you're none of His. You're none of God's.
That's true, too.
That's terrifying.
Yes, it is. I love you.
I love you very much.
I love you very much. Well, it's a matter of, he gave us life here, and this is only a temporary place for us. The question is, where are we going to spend the rest of our life, even after this one fades away and passes. It's a matter of our choices, our actions. It's a matter of having faith. It's a matter of having trust. It's a matter of believing. It's a matter of loving.
Yeah.
And
Well,
forgiveness. We do those 5 things. I mean, you're doing really well if you do those 5 things, because that's what basically we have to do.
well, and you know yourself, there have been days that I have really, really struggled with the actions that some of the other ones inside of you did while you were out of our home.
Of course.
And that you have been willing to be patient with me as I try to process that trauma.
Sweetheart, you had the patience to go through all the other ones inside of me put you through. You've passed it. You've done your part. You have. Now it's a matter of me, coming home and showing you all I've learned and all the things I've changed and done for myself. Because that's what I had to do. I came here. I got to know me. I got to know the ones inside me. I got to, work on the anger, the impulse, all these negative things that were going on. I've had 4 years, almost 5 years to work on.
Right.
So it's a matter of me coming home and showing you how much I've done. You've done your part, and I've got to have patience with you. I've got to, because you was on the short end of the stick on all this. Where I didn't know what was going on, you did, and you experienced it firsthand. That's what inspired me to even get even better than I ever was before.
Well, and we want to encourage others that even when you've gone through some stuff, God can help you make a way through it. He can restore your relationships. He can restore your marriages. But it has to do with that forgiveness.
Yep. It does.
And that's, each situation is individual, and God has to lead those people as He, wants them to do. God does not expect anybody to be abused, and God does not expect anybody to stay in a relationship where they're not being loved and respected and cared for. So we're not telling people to do that, but it's one of those, if something has happened, and especially if it has to do with mental health, that God can restore all things.
Yep, He can, because we're living proof of that.
Well, and it's just like we've got an anniversary coming up on February 22nd.
Yes, we do, and I got a wonderful anniversary present for you.
And it will be 8 years, and that's to the day that God married us,
Yep, it will.
And it's, it's been a long journey, baby.
I know it really has. Well, everybody needs to know that, life is going to put us through big time tests. And God puts us through tests just to see how, far that we can go, because if we surpass all of those tests, He's going to put us in charge of many other things.
Yeah.
Even harder things, which is okay, because He said as long as we've got Him, He'll never put more on us than we can bear, and He'll see us through it.
Through Christ I can do all things.
Yep, and He has. We're 2 living testimonies that can show for it. I don't know, there's so many times that me and you both should have died.
Yep.
But God always found a way to...
You have 1 minute remaining.
He always found a way to preserve us and use us for Him. And now that we're both willing, He's going to do amazing things, and I know this.
I know that.
I love you too, sweetheart.
I love you, baby. You going to call me back after a while tonight?
Yes, I'll call you after supper. I love you.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome, sweetheart. I love you.
I love you. Bye, baby.
Love you too, baby. Bye, baby.